I'll be talking to you about the ICAN exam and what you should note when you go to the exam hall. And the first thing is, before I say that, is the mistake a lot of students make. They make it before they get into the exam. And one of those mistakes is that students don't pay much attention to the ICAN past questions, which in Pathfinders. Well, they pay attention to the questions and not the answers, sadly. And important thing is, before you go to write any exam, pay attention to how the institutes, like the recommended answer, how it should be presented, so you don't lose marks on either presentation or supplying wrong answers. You can think something is the answer, it's not the answer. You can think this is the best way to present it, and it's not. So pay attention to past questions, the solutions, and there's also somewhere called examiner's comments. And read it very, very well. It will save you from a whole lot of mistakes. Now, when you get to the exam, first thing I recommend is write your name, write your details. Sorry, you can't write your name, there's no space for that. Write your details, exam number. Once that's out of the way, you won't have to bother about it later on paper. Now, the exam is typically 3 hours and 15 minutes reading time. So 3 hours. 3 hours is 180 minutes. And many times people don't use this time well. And the best way, and that's what a lot of educators suggest for virtually all exams, is to apportion your time on the basis of the marks you can obtain from a question. Simply put, divide the time you have by the marks you can obtain while answering a question. So 180 minutes is 3 hours divided by 100 questions, divided by 100 marks is 1.8 minutes per question, per mark. 1.8 minutes per mark. It means that if you are going to answer a question, you should not spend you should spend approximately 1.8 minutes to obtain 1 mark. So you are answering a question that is worth 20 marks. So 1.8 minutes per mark. So you should not spend more than 36 minutes on that question. Then if it's a 15 mark question, you should spend up 27 minutes. And if it's a 30 mark question, you should spend 54 minutes on it. And what many people do is that some questions, especially the compulsory question, looks bulky, and it might take an hour and a half to complete it. But remember that it is 30 marks. Meaning, if you spend 2 hours answering that question and you answer it correctly and perfectly, you cannot obtain more than 30 marks. So why don't you spread out your time and answer other questions that can also fetch you good scores? So you have a 20 mark question, you should spend 36 minutes on it. Well, you might not have to if you know it very well, you can answer it very quickly. But many times people strive so hard, spend so much time thinking on the difficult ones, and they spend so much time there. And this is how I approach it. Once I've done that division, if it's a 20 mark question, 36 minutes, I don't go beyond. Once I'm getting to 30 minutes, I leave it at wherever I am. I move to next question. And the only exception will be, maybe you don't have any other question to answer, or you have no idea whatsoever, then you can spend extra time on that. But once I've spent the allocated or the time I've planned to use, which is to spend on the question, which is 6 minutes, I move to a new question where I can obtain fresh marks. And that's what I keep doing. So when I'm done, if I have extra time, I can come back to brush up and okay, let me fix this in, let me fix this here. But I don't. So if you're not done with a question, what do you do? Leave what I do. What do? You do what you see best. But what I do is I leave the space, I move to the next. I'm answering that question. I'm not done, I leave the space, I move to the next. I'm not done, I leave the space, I move to the next. And most times, depending on the course, especially when it's computation, many people advise that you should answer the compulsory question last because it usually consumes time. So it's a 15-mark question. Spend 1.8 minutes trying to obtain 1 mark, and that's the simple basis. Some people spend 2 hours on compulsory question, then spend 10 minutes on questions that can fetch them 20 marks, forgetting that 220 marks question is 40 and it's greater than 30 mark compulsory question. So that, I feel like, is one thing you want to be conscious of as you go into the exam. Then something I like to do is, for me, speed is very important, but accuracy is better than speed. So what I do is I like to answer questions that have to do with concepts and theories first, because I know I can write. I write very fast, and I kind of move that out of the way. And the times that the extra time, like I know I'm supposed to spend 27 minutes on a 50-mark question. So if I write really fast, I'm going to spend 20 minutes. Great, I have 7 minutes spare. I'll move it to a computation question, and I'll sort of reassign the time I want to spend. So I like starting with those questions that have theories and concepts, then move to the computation. And when I'm computing, I go after accuracy. It's better you're accurate and you're unable to complete your work than you complete a work that is not accurate. So I go after accuracy. I calculate, I check the figures twice, I compute twice. I'm just really, really, really careful. So that's just it about answering your questions. Very, very, very time conscious. Don't spend so much time on one question during the other one. And the last thing, and in my opinion, and one important asset you need when you write the exam, is your ability to remain calm. And you see questions that you might not be sure, can I answer this, can I approach this, and your emotions and thoughts can get really high in the exam hall. And when your emotions are high, a lot of thoughts in your head, students tend to forget, and people say things like, oh, they went blank, and they were a lot of things. So try to always be calm, irrespective. And another thing to because I've seen people say things like they broke down on the exam day, this to the exam, or they were feeling sleepy in the exam hall, they couldn't control the fatigue again, things like that. Well, my opinion is, as you study, just create time for rest, especially 2 to 3 days to your exam. Yeah, so that's it on the exam, and I really hope that this helps you when you're about to take your next exam. Thank you.